I would say access to capital and experience and be able to be with a team that's done it before. So it's going to be very hard, especially in this market, to be starting on your own. So the best resource you can leverage is your relationships.
This is Brandon Turner, and you are listening to the Average Joe Finances podcast.
If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you smash the like and subscribe buttons. If you're listening to our podcast, go leave us a 5-star review. All of our links can be found in the video description or show notes below. Hey, welcome back to the Average Joe Finances podcast. I'm your host, Mike Cavaggioni, and today's guests are Nick Cooper and Andrew Jarrett. So Nick and Andrew, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having us, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I'm excited to talk to you guys today, and I want to go into a little bit about your background and start this off the same way we start every podcast. So if you could share a little bit about yourselves, tell us your story. Who is Nick Cooper and who is Andrew Jarrett?
Awesome. So I'll start. I am Nick Cooper. So I am a 22 years retired helicopter pilot and
From
the Navy. Yeah, that's right. Go Navy. Fellow veteran here.
Let's go.
I started investing back when I was a brand new officer in San Diego, and I bought my first rental property. And kind of by default, you move around a lot in the military. I became a landlord. So fast forward 15 years, I had a couple rental properties in San Diego. I did the math one day and realized I was making $150 a month on this place. That wasn't really a good business. So I did some quick researching on Google and some podcasts like Bigger Pockets and saw that multifamily was the best way to scale up. So within a week, I sold my last property here in San Diego, a single family rental. And 4 months later, I 1031 into a 24 unit in Ohio. So it's just what I really like multifamily is that I was able to scale that quickly. It took me 15 years to get a very small portfolio in San Diego and 4 months to scale up multifamily. And since then, I have 4 more deals. I'm a general partner, which is the lead sponsor on 4 of those deals, and looking to expand some more. I have about 200 units, 14 million under management as far as assets. And the biggest thing I did recently was I had a pretty big capital event, and that allowed me to retire. And a capital event means I did a big refi, my first property. So increased the rents from $400 to about $750, and it almost tripled in value. And met up with Andrew, thank you, about a year and a half ago, and we partnered up and taken down deals in Florida.
Nice. All right, Andrew, what about you?
So I started investing back when I was 19. I had a job at a grocery store and realized I did not want to work for anybody. So started investing at a younger age, and pretty much have always lived off my investments. I lost some money when I was younger, about 22. So I had a job for about 6 months, but other than that, never had a job. So started buying, my first deal was a duplex. So I bought that and just kind of scaled up to where I was from in Western New York to about 300 units up there, and moved to Florida and bought a property and casualty insurance company. Ran that for 2 years. Also did some wholesaling and some fix and flips here. And then started selling off some of the New York stuff because we were buying here in Florida. So in 2018, I got into large multifamily, did a deal in Atlanta, full cycle, which means we bought it, rehabbed it, sold it. That was 152 units. Did another one in Jacksonville, Florida, which was 113 doors, and then a 252 unit in Jacksonville as well. And now Nick and we're both full-time together, working together, buying properties here in Florida. And now we just started coaching people on how to do the same thing.
Very nice. Awesome. So great background on both of you. So I want to start off I want to dive a little bit deeper into all of that. Nick, I'll start off with you since you went first there.
All right.
So I know you did 22 years in the Navy, right? So go Navy.
Yeah.
I just retired after 20 years. So definitely appreciate your service. The fact that pointed something out that really stood out to me, I wrote this down as you were talking, is that you were able to build this kind of small portfolio in a 15-year span. But when you swapped over to multifamily, you were able to scale so much faster. I know a lot of people, they start off in single family and then they eventually move to multifamily. But what was it like? You had already been doing single family for 15 years, right? So what was it that kind of made that switch flip for you where you said, hey, man, like something's got to give because I've been doing this for a while and $150 a month on this property for cash flow is not that great, especially in San Diego. So what was it that that actually flipped the switch? I know you said you listened to a couple podcasts and stuff,
Yeah.
but what was that actual thing that pushed that button?
So the big switch actually was my girlfriend, now wife at the time. We're sitting down, having a nice breakfast in my bachelor pad in San Diego. And she looks at me because I was about 18, 19 years in the military at this time. And she says to me, what's your plan afterwards? What are you going to do? And I didn't really have an answer. Like my answer was like, I'll do more of the same, which as a pilot in the military, it's definitely not the safest profession. And I think that her point was like, how are you going to build a life with me if you're not around? So I think my default was either stay in the military longer or change careers and be an airline pilot, which no shade against that, but I wanted to be around. So I pretty much had a fire under my rear end to get going. And I looked at my property in San Diego because it always feels really good. I got this rental in San Diego. You feel like you did something, like you got a little side hustle. But that quick math that I did of $150 a month, I looked at my equity of about $350,000. And I didn't have to be a mathematician to realize that is a really bad return. So I looked at that as this is dead equity. And I immediately had to put that money to work. So my point is, I always read Rich Dad Poor Dad and it put your money to work, give it a job. And I realized like I have all this equity built up that I'm not putting to work. So that was when I realized that multifamily, how do I scale? Like I can't buy more of a single family house. It took me 15 years to get here. I can't do this. So the only way to be scalable and to be more stable was to go to where professionals operate. And that's in the multifamily space.
Right on. So it's really funny how sometimes just a small conversation about, hey, what's next can trigger something inside that you're like, okay, I really need to look at this and figure out what I'm going to switch up. Now, hey, Andrew, over to you, man. So you said you only had a job for about 6 months, right? When you were 19 and then that was it. And then you just went full time into investing.
Yeah. So I had a job when I was 15 and 19 at a grocery store, got out of that, went into real estate and got tied up in this like stock market scheme, essentially lost all my capital. So I got a job for 6 months just to sustain myself and then went right back into real estate and never had a job since.
Wow. Nice, man. That's awesome. And now, okay, again, so how did you two meet?
Good.
We met actually online at first, not like an online dating service, but kind of like a
I'm not asking those kind of questions, man.
So we tried to link up at a conference and Andrew, I think, was ill, so he couldn't meet up. And after the conference, I drove out. It was in Orlando and he was in Tampa. And we drove out and I met him and we connected over dinner. And my wife was there at the time and she's always a great judge of character. And I like this guy. I think we could work with him. And that was the beginning of a beautiful partnership.
Nice. Nice. Okay. And okay, so Andrew, you agree that's how that went down? It wasn't like some type of weird website, right?
No, not at all.
Okay, awesome. Now, since you guys partnered up, like what markets do you guys focus on together as partners?
So now our main market is Florida and Texas, because I'm here in Tampa. So it's Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, and the I-4 corridor between Tampa and Orlando. So smaller markets in there, like Haines City, Lakeland, areas like that.
Okay, nice, nice. And all right, so Nick, are you still in San Diego or where are you at now?
Yeah, I'm still in San Diego. I live here with my wife, the woman who told me, get your crap together. I married her. So I got it together and here I am. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So both in really sunny areas. I'm also in a very sunny area out here in Hawaii, so that's good. And sunny and warm areas.
Nice.
So
Yes.
there you go. Although San Diego gets pretty cold at night.
Yeah.
But I'm
In the
not going to
40s.
lie, Hawaii does too in the wintertime. And people don't really, I think, realize that. Okay, so you focus mostly on Texas and Florida. So how is it that you guys find deals together with you being in Orlando and you being in San Diego? What kind of strategies do you guys use to find these properties, like off market, or are you finding them on MLS? Like, how are you finding them?
We have a couple different kinds of ways we go. So anything that we're going to syndicate, which is big enough to have third-party management, like a property management company run it for us, we'll go directly through brokers, because 95% of the time, a seller is not going to talk to you that owns a property that large. For things that are smaller, 20 to 30 units, we have found some direct to seller. You go online, you can find them and call them as well, or send them postcards. We don't do that, but you can call them directly as well, pull co-star lists. So anything we're going to JV, we can do that way, but majority of the time it's through broker relations.
Okay, right on. So do you guys do any cold calling or anything? Do you have any VAs for stuff like that?
We don't at the moment, no. We've been doing just larger deals. But this year we're looking to start smaller acquisitions as well. So we pulled some co-star lists and we will be calling owners directly.
Nice. And how did you develop these relationships with the brokers that you work with?
Just going to conferences. So there's the NMHC, which is the national conference they have once a year. You can go there and schedule times to meet with brokers. We call them, take them out to lunch, dinner, coffee, and just really keep in contact with them. So every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you call and see what they have coming down their pipeline. If they send you a deal, you want to get back to them right away, show them you're serious, go tour properties, things like that, and really stay top of mind with them.
You put them in your CRM as well. Oh, sorry, Mike.
No, I was gonna say, I like how you said that. And I was gonna go to you next with this, Nick, because I hear like a lot of times with a lot of newer investors that are getting into multifamily that they get intimidated with trying to get on these buyer lists and stuff. And the big concern they have is like, how do I show this broker that I'm serious, that I want them to send me these listings because I want them to know that I'm serious about buying them and I'm a serious investor. So when you guys teamed up, you said it was only what, a year and a half ago, right?
Yeah.
So how did you show these brokers that you recently met that you guys were serious buyers?
We've all done it before. So this wasn't our first rodeo. So Andrew has already done a transaction from start to finish. And I have some multifamily under my belt as well. So having that credibility is really an assistance. And I think that for maybe what you're getting at is when you start out, you either need to, you can't just call on the phone and expect them to send you deals. Might get on their email list and whatnot, but it's totally different than residential. Like these guys hold the keys to it and you have to wine and dine them. Like they're not chasing you. You're the one chasing them. So the biggest thing there is to get in front of them. If you're interested in a market, you fly out to that market. That's how I found my deal, is flying out to that market. When I bought my first place in Ohio, I flew out there. So you got to be top of mind. Top of mind is you're going to show up. You're not, if not, you're a tire kicker.
Right. So it's not just about being on the other side of a phone call. It's about having that physical presence and being in front of them. That carries a lot more weight. Awesome. Okay. Now, so between the two of you guys, so now you guys have to split up duties on who's doing what. So who's in charge of managing these broker relationships, or you guys tag team that?
We kind of want to go.
Yeah, go ahead. We kind of tag team it. So it depends on the market. So Andrew in Florida can actually meet them. Whereas myself in Texas, I'm in the market. I travel out there. I will deal with the Texas brokers.
Nice. Okay. Okay. So you guys like split up the duties pretty evenly with that. And that makes sense. All right, cool. Now, what kind of resources do you guys find that is the most valuable when it comes to locking in a deal?
I would say access to capital and experience and be able to be with a team that's done it before. So it's going to be very hard, especially in this market, to be starting on your own. So the best resource you can leverage is your relationships.
Oh, I like that. I like that. We talk about networking a lot too, right? And how that's so important in every aspect of real estate, no matter what type of real estate you're into, whether it's single family or multifamily, that network building is super important. So it sounds like the key here is definitely those relationships that you build. And again, and actually the key thing too is that it's a relationship, not just an acquaintance, right? Not just somebody you met at a networking event. You actually built that relationship. Something that you said earlier, Andrew, too, is you'll take them out and wine and dine them to build that rapport, right? And build that relationship. And I think that's
Right.
one of the key differences that I feel like a lot of people might lose in translation when they say, oh yeah, I know, and I know. It's great to know people, but you have a relationship with that person. And I think that's a very huge thing. Okay. Now, I forget who it was. One of you guys mentioned CRM earlier. So I wanted to see what
That was
kind of
Nick.
CRM systems do you use and how do you effectively use that to manage your deal flow?
Yeah, you have to. I think you can start off with an Excel spreadsheet and with reminders, but really what really is going to make a difference is something like a Monday that you put in with reminders, emails, notes, follow-ups. So it's very easy to start simply, but you're going to complicate it pretty quickly.
Okay. Yeah, right on. So Excel, but obviously that's it. That's turned into something else. I personally use Asana. I really like Asana for a lot of the stuff that I do. Is there something that you guys in particular really prefer over anything else? And what's the reason why?
Go ahead, Andrew.
We keep it pretty simple between Nick and I. We'll use essentially Google emails like for reminders, and we have each other's calendars on there. So
Okay.
I can look right on Gmail and see, can I book this for him, or can we schedule a call at this time, and stuff like that. And then we built out Excel files that we share through G Drive to track our deals. So we customized it a little more. And we also have like our MailChimp templates that we send out to our investors and stuff. But yeah, but pretty streamlined and easy.
I feel like G Suite is so underrated when it comes
Yes,
It
to
really is.
how powerful it is. I also use that too, like for my VAs and stuff. We do everything through our Google Drive. We have all of our taskers and stuff in Asana, but
exactly.
all the links to it go back to the Google Drive. So it's like when you're looking at the different tasks and you're trying to figure out what's next to do, you just click the link in the Google Drive. It brings you right to the thing that they're working on, which is pretty cool. Yeah. And then the calendar too, getting everybody's calendar in sync is super awesome because you can see what everybody's doing at the same time and you don't have to worry about overbooking something else or overlapping things. It's very valuable. And,
We've
and
even
it's
tried
it's
like
not that
Slack.
expensive either.
No,
Slack's
we- I-
good.
we- yeah, but it gets confusing. We went back to to G Drive because it was much easier, I felt.
We also use Slack for communications and everything. And then we linked our Google Drive to it because you could actually link your Google to it as well. So each time you update a file in there, it'll actually send something out to the Slack channel.
Okay.
Say this file's been updated and everything. It's pretty neat. I like it. And
Yeah.
I use the free version, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Another
My
quick tip
favorite
would
price.
be, yeah, if you ever use Loom. So instead of writing a big long email to someone, be it especially a VA or someone, I will go in Loom and it's a free account. You get 25 videos you can make. I will send them the exact instructions via Loom. So it's a video recording of me saying, here it is. Here's me going through Excel. Look at this and this. And I say, cool. Now send me back a video on Loom with what I just said.
Yeah, I like that. That's nice. I wish I knew about Loom before I did the stuff that I was doing. I was actually doing like screen recording using OBS and stuff.
Okay.
And I would record it that way to do all the instructions and I'd upload it to the Google Drive and then send them the Google
Right.
Drive link and say, hey, watch this video and tell me that you understand it and this and that and everything. But I feel like those video tutorials work out much better when you can walk somebody through it. And even one time I did something where I did everything. I screenshot every step, click here, screenshot it, circled it, all that
Yeah.
stuff. And that was a pain in the butt, but
Yeah.
I've done that before until Nick showed me Loom.
oh yeah, I wish I would have known about Loom so much sooner, man.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought that up. So people that are listening right now, check out Loom. If you're outsourcing things to VAs, Loom is super valuable, especially that you get 25 videos for free. That's really good because it's going to help you give them the instructions and make sure that you're sending the right message, which sometimes things can get lost in translation. You're using a VA, English isn't their native language. So
Exactly.
it's
Right.
good for them to have a visualization and not just going over your text or word of mouth. Right on.
Like I gotta say real quick too, that your Star Wars stuff there in the back with the light change, that's pretty cool, man.
Oh, thanks. That's
The
actually just
Yoda
a
and the
ring
Darth
light
Vader?
that I have like with on a loop.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
I like
it's
it.
one of my other ring lights and I don't use it. So I said, oh, let me see if I could just light up this little corner here. Once
Yeah,
I get my
alright.
shades in here, it's going to look a lot nicer because I could darken the room and you won't see the reflection off of my bright face all the time. So I tried to darken my face with the beard, get a
I hear
tan
you.
and stuff, but yeah, it's all good. But yeah, I'm a big Star Wars fan, man. I got Darth Vader right here on my arm.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
Oh,
got the Death Star, all that stuff right
awesome.
here. All right, man. Yeah, it's good stuff. Okay. So CRM systems, you guys keep it pretty simple, which is really good to know because a lot of people think
Yeah.
that you have to right off the bat go into something huge, spend a lot of money on a system as you're building your team, when there's so many ways you can do things for a lot cheaper or even free. So that's really good to know. And obviously you guys work really well together because you're taking down deals and crushing it. That's
Right.
awesome stuff, guys.
yeah. I think you got to keep it really simple because if you get confused, you're just not going to do it. Or it gets complicated, you're not going to do that. If it's a pain in the butt to do things, you're not going to do it. Fill out those trackers and whatnot. It just doesn't
100%.
happen.
That's why they have that acronym, right? KISS. Keep it
Yeah.
simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Some people might not like the whole stupid part, but hey, just keep it simple. Okay, cool. So now that I know that you guys find your deals through brokers, right? Through the relationships you built with them, is there any other way? I know you had mentioned that you're possibly looking at doing some mail stuff or door hangers or things like that in the future. What type of marketing do you guys use right now, if you're using any at all?
What we're going to do is we can pull lists from CoStar. We
Okay.
get the actual owner direct to owner, so we can call them.
So you're going to do cold calls.
Right.
Nice. And are you guys looking to outsource that to like VAs or anything, or are you going to do that yourself?
We're actually debating it now because a single family, I feel, is a little different. You can have a VA do that, but I feel like when you get on a call with a multifamily owner, especially 30, 50 units, you have to know a little bit more of the lingo and the language of multifamily. So we might
Yeah.
do that ourselves or have one of our partners do that.
Right.
The hardest thing
you guys are
with-
going direct
Good.
to owner though, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'd probably do that myself too.
Yeah, I think it's just it's a big enough transaction that you don't want to screw it up. And
Right.
also compared to single family, there's not that many compared to them, and there's still a lot. And then with CoStar, what it can do is it can pierce the veil of the LLC to give you the actual contact information. That's what you need because all these properties, 99.9% will be in an LLC. And how do you find the person that's really behind that?
Mhm.
Yeah, that definitely takes some effort. So yeah, CoStar, that's a great resource to use, right? To just get down to the actual owner
Yes.
of the LLC, and the LLC owns the property. So
Right.
awesome. All right,
Yeah.
man. Let me see. Now, what about for you guys in particular? What type of like key performance indicators do you look for? What is your criteria when saying this is a deal that we should consider? Because I know you're going to be looking at a lot, right? Especially if you start cold calling these owners, you'll probably call 100 of them before you find that one. So what is that key criteria or key thing that kind of passes the sniff test to say, this is something we should look further into?
Yeah, I'd say it's going to be something that I can increase the rents. So I'm looking to add value to it. So for us in multifamily, cap rate is a thing, but it doesn't really in the weeds matter as much if I can increase rents. So looking, is there a place to increase rents? Is there some kind of inefficiencies that aren't in place, like management? Are they charging too much? Can I put my own in place and make it a lot more expensive? There's things like expenses I can tap her down on, like water expenses are really high in multifamily. And we're looking at something, you're right. You look at about 100 deals or so before you find 10 you're going to offer on. And of those 10, you may get one or two too close to the finish line. And what you got to do is figure out, hey, here's the returns that I want. Back it up from there. And that's your offer.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, you have to have that number, right? If the numbers, don't work, you can't just go in there and offer, what they're asking if those numbers are not going to work for you, because you're going to be in the hole as soon as you pick it up. Especially if you're working with investors and you're a steward of other people's money, you got to make sure you're good stewards. It's awesome. You guys are looking for the right stuff. You're asking the right questions and doing the right things. For my listeners that are listening right now, these are the type of operators you want to look for if you're looking to invest with in a syndication passively. Somebody that's going to do that due diligence and find the right properties. Awesome stuff, guys. Okay, now this is for both of you, and it's just a curious thing, but tell me what it is that you enjoy the most about investing in multifamily.
That's a good one. I think what I'll say, I'll keep it brief, and I like the scalability of it. And I'd say scalability, I think you're dealing with professionals, vice amateurs. And I'm not saying there's just not professionals in the single family space, but when you're dealing with multifamily, it's a business. So it's looked at upon as a business. Vice, hey, for this single family house, it appraises because someone has an emotional connection to it. The house next door went way over asking So hence your house is worth this. Whereas multifamily, here's the numbers. This is what it is. This is what your offer is. And you get it. It's a business transaction.
So a lot less emotion involved.
There's a lot less emotion. Agree.
Fair enough. What about you, Andrew?
For me, it's more the time freedom that it comes with. So for single family, it's harder being on both sides. I've done single family and multifamily. Single family is harder to manage, especially because you have 50 roofs. Maybe you have 50 AC units or 50 furnaces all scattered throughout. With a multifamily, it's under one roof typically, all on site. You can have one property manager. Hopefully it's big enough where they are on site all the time, and it takes a lot less time. So you get that scalability with the income and also the time freedom that everybody's looking for.
I know. I love that, man. The economies of scale too.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things that sold me on multifamily as well. Is you go replace you could have 30 single family homes and you have to replace the roof on all of them after so many years. That's
Right.
30 different times you're replacing the roof. You have a 30 unit apartment building, you got to replace the roof. You're doing it once. You're doing
Right.
one roof.
Fact.
So
Yeah.
that's huge. And then the little tweaks you can make to save a lot of money, such as like water saving toilets or the shower heads, right, that have higher pressure but use less water.
Exactly.
Little things like that where you can start saving in those other areas. Where on a single family, you do that, it's just going to happen to that one. Now you're
Right.
doing it. It's like 30 separate transactions on 30 different units. That plumber having to go to every single one and doing it is going to cost a lot more than saying, hey, can you go to my apartment building and do every single one of my units? Because then you're going to get a better deal that way. Yeah.
And like Nick said,
That's
if you can increase with multifamily, increase your NOI, your income, and reduce your expenses on a cap rate, that's going to make you a lot more money than one single family where it's off an appraisal. So it's much more scalable.
Right on. Okay. I have one more question I want to ask you guys
All right.
before I transition this to the final round. And I want to start off with you on this one, Nick, because I know after serving 22 years in the Navy, you got your pension going, you had some real estate at the time. Actually, you were already in multifamily at the time when you retired, right?
I was.
So going through all of that, when you hit that 22 years and you retired from the Navy, what made you decide that you wanted to stay involved in real estate? So what is your why?
I definitely would say it's the same person I told about that started this all. The catalyst was my wife, is that it provides me that freedom. To give you an example, my wife was home for lunch. We had lunch together. That never would have happened when I was in the military. I was way at work or flying or deployed. So I think what Andrew mentioned already, the time freedom that I get. And so I realized that I was at an entrepreneur group before I retired, and I saw someone said to me, "It's like, get busy building your dream or build someone else's." And that hit me a bit. I was like, man, I've been building someone else's dream this whole time. And if I stop and pivot to another career, say it's in aviation or some other company, I'm going to make them wealthy, not myself.
I like that. That's a fantastic quote too. All right, Andrew, for
thanks.
you, what is your why?
My why is just, I want to continue living the lifestyle that I have. I don't want to, kind of like Nick said, I don't want to have to work for somebody else. And I don't like being told what to do. So I would not be a good employee. I need to buy more multifamily and just keep the income streams coming to live my lifestyle.
Nice. Right on. Now, actually, I lied. I have one more question for you, Andrew. I have to ask because you live in Orlando, right?
Tampa.
Oh, you live in Tampa.
I did live in Orlando, but
You're close enough. Do you have
Mhm.
season passes to Disney?
I do not.
Oh, if I lived
should,
there,
though.
if I lived there, I would. That's one of the reasons why I think my wife doesn't want to move there. We have family.
Maybe Star Wars thing, I think.
Yeah.
Exactly. We have a family out there right outside of Tampa as well. So we had talked about it for a while and it's been on the fence, but it's like she doesn't want to move to Florida. But it's, I think one of the main reasons is she knows that I'm going to get like Disney season passes and we're going to be there like every weekend.
Oh boy.
I see they have the actual Star Wars hotel there too, which looks pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I would probably stay there
definitely
at least once a month. I don't know.
Yeah.
It would be disgusting. It would be disgusting.
Yeah.
Any type of passive cash flow I'm getting is getting blown on Star Wars stuff. It would just be ridiculous. So anyway, past all that. Hey guys, I want to transition this into something that I call the final round. It's going to
Sweet.
be the same 4 questions that I ask everybody that comes on this show. And I'll ask it so that you guys can both answer it as well. And it's going to be more of a, hey, how does Nick and Andrew handle being under pressure? And I'm pretty sure I know how you guys are going to answer these questions because I see how your mindset is already and how you guys are crushing it in real estate. So I think this is going to be pretty awesome. So I'm excited about it. So if you're ready to go, we'll get this party started.
Let's do it.
Let's
All right,
party.
let's do it. First question is, what's the biggest mistake you've ever made in real estate?
I'll take the first one. So for me, it was taking forever to pivot to multifamily. And then also say that thinking I could do it on my own. So multifamily is a team sport. You have to partner with people that are doing it and waiting to get a coach. That's
Okay,
3 things.
yeah.
So there you go. Bonus.
No, hey, that's fine. 100%, 100%. And a lot of times people have more than one mistake that they got to rattle off there, and that's okay. What about you, Andrew? What's the biggest
I've
mistake
made a
you've
lot.
made?
I've made a lot of mistakes. A lot of deals don't always turn out as you want them to. But I would say the biggest mistake is not buying more. I wish I bought more.
Okay, that's fair. All right. Hey, the next question, these all kind of tie into each other. So you're going to see that this one kind of ties into it. But what is something that you've learned that you wish you knew when you first got started?
I guess that you could, for me, when I first got started, I started out in small multifamily, right? Duplex, single family. The biggest one was like a fourplex. I wish I was raising private money back then for those deals, but I wish I knew that I could raise more money to go out and buy those versus thinking smaller. So I wish when I was first starting out, I had bigger aspirations and realized that I could buy 100 unit doing the same exact thing. Because it is the same amount of work, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
that's
I think
fair.
I'll piggyback onto Andrew's is that it takes closing my single family houses took almost more work than the multifamily in the same amount of time. So, and I also think limiting belief of that I had to always use my own capital to do this. And that's when it's eventually after my first deal, I was out of money. It was all tied up into my deal. So you have to look at other places. That's going to be other people's money. If you really want to scale, that's the only way to do it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think that goes back to something you said earlier too about that not doing it alone, right? Not realizing that you need to have a team and build partnerships to knock this stuff out. Because doing it alone, that's when you get stuck in a situation like that, that's when you think that you only have your own capital that's available and you put yourself in a situation where you are self-inflicting those limiting beliefs.
Yep. And like you said, you got to build that network because when you get in a situation like that, if you have the network, you'll find the money or you'll find the connection that has the money.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100% you will. Okay, right on. So the third question, again, these all kind of tie into each other is, do you have any tips or tricks that you would recommend to someone that is just getting started out today?
Yeah, I would say link up with someone that's already doing it. And I think a lot of folks are tied into, I have to read this book or this education and whatnot. I'm not saying education isn't important, but you will hide in that. You will not take action. So action is no crap, calling brokers, making offers. That's what you need to be doing.
Yep.
Not just educating yourself and avoiding what needs to get done. So action over busy work.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people get caught up in I took action. I started reading this book. Oh no, that's educating yourself. You can educate yourself and you can network till you're blue in the face, but the action piece is the most important piece. As a matter of fact, I have these 4 pillars that I call, it's 4 pillars to building your wealth. And action is actually the one that I say, this is the most important one. It's the 4th one. And if the other 3 don't matter, if you don't do this 4th one, you can sit here and educate yourself. You can get a coach and a mentor. You can network till you're blue in the face. But if you don't sit here and take action, the previous 3 did absolutely nothing for you. 100%.
Yep, exactly.
So love that. Did you want to add to that at all, Andrew? Or
that was actually the exact same thing I was going to say.
All right,
Was
brilliant. We're both so brilliant.
you guys are in sync.
Yeah.
East Coast and West Coast, just
That's
but
right.
still mind melding and in sync. So that's good. All right. Hey, final question of the final round. And I will preface this with besides your own, because I know you got a podcast there, Andrew, and a book, I believe. I will preface this with that. So besides your own, do you have a favorite business, investing, or real estate related book or podcast or both?
You asking me or Nick?
Oh, I thought you asked Andrew. So sorry about that. I will go with a recent one that really has affected me. I'm going to go with Who, Not How. And I can rename a dozen right now that has been life changing. But that book, it basically tells you how to not be that person who's doing all the busy work. You need to find your person who can do these things for you, be it a VA, be it a partner, be it a team. You can't do all this on your own. And that really shifted my mindset.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
I agree. That is a great book. And then I just read Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield. And that book is really good as well. It gets a little bit in your face about there's an amateur and there's a professional, and this is how each one acts and reacts. So if you're going to get into the business world, I would definitely read that book.
Great one.
Awesome.
Short read too.
Yeah.
Awesome. I wrote those both down. I've definitely heard Who, Not How a couple times on here, but Turning Pro, that's the first time I heard that one. So I'm going to add that to my list as well. So definitely some awesome recommendations. I appreciate that. Okay, that is it for the final round. You guys survived. Pat yourselves on the back.
Yeah, buddy.
It wasn't that bad. But no, hey, really great answers to all those questions, and even throughout the entire interview. This was really awesome. Like, you guys put out a lot of great info. I'm pretty sure my listeners are like, hey, this is good stuff. And speaking of that, my listeners are going to want to know where they could find more information about you guys. So if you could, the final question I have is, where can people find more information about you? Do you have a website, social media, anything like that you could share with us today?
Yeah. So if they want to go to www.Jarrett Capital, which is JARETT capital.com, they can email us there, book a call with us, 15-minute call. And Nick and I do have the podcast that we co-host as well, which is on YouTube, and it's Passive Road to Retirement.
Awesome. So I will make sure I have links to that in the show notes to make it easier for everybody to find you guys. They can copy and paste or click away. Just don't do it if you're driving, because that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Save it for later.
Rock on.
Nick and Andrew, this was super awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today and just taking the time out of your busy days just to have this conversation with me.
Thanks, Mike. This is super fun, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, real quick to my listeners, thank you so much for joining me and our special guests, Nick Cooper and Andrew Jarrett on the Average Joe Finances podcast. Make sure you go leave us a 5-star review and tell us what you liked about today's specific episode with Nick and Andrew. Aloha from Hawaii and have a great rest of your day. Thank you for making it to the end of this episode. Greatly appreciate you being here with me today on the Average Joe Finances podcast. If you haven't done so yet, make this the episode that you go leave us a 5-star rating or subscribe to our YouTube channel. The Average Joe Finances podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Have an outstanding day.